This is the Locked On Jets podcast coming at you on this Thursday night, October 20th, 2022. I'm your host, John B. from GangGreenNation.com, bringing you a mini episode this evening because there was big news from the Jets on Thursday. Wide receiver Elijah Moore has requested a trade from the team. Now, you could actually see the beginning of the discontent over the weekend because after the victory in Green Bay on Sunday, a reporter sent out a tweet noting that Moore did not have a single target in that game. And Moore replied to the tweet, and his reply indicated that he was not all that happy. We got to Thursday, and Moore was not at practice. The Jets initially indicated that he had been excused, that he was taking a day off. Well, later it came out that there were some issues in the building, and after Moore left, he requested a trade from the team. So the Jets now dealing with a little bit of drama. And listen, if you're a Jets fan tonight, I understand the frustration. The feeling's got to be, finally, it feels like things are going right. We're 4-2. We've got this 3-game winning streak. And of course, something has to go wrong. And I'm not in panic mode. I have to tell you, I'm not in panic mode at this point, in part because the team is doing pretty well this season. And it's not necessarily the end for Elijah Moore. Now, listen, sometimes these issues between team and player happen, and it is the end. And the player ends up leaving, and the acrimony just becomes too much. We'll have to wait and see, but I think it's too early to say any of that. Now, to state the obvious, Elijah Moore looks horrible in this situation. After your team's on a 3-game winning streak, you have a fan base that's very excited, the fan base that has not seen much success lately. Nobody wants to hear you complain that you're not getting enough targets in the passing game. Nobody wants to hear about your statistics. And that goes with, I think everybody feels that way. How can you defend Elijah Moore for what he's doing? It's ridiculous. So let's dispense with the notion that anybody can defend Elijah Moore, because you're a second-year player. You're at the beginning of your second season. You got about 750 yards. I mean, you've been playing okay, but you're not a star-level player, and your team's winning. So let's get that out of the way. Elijah Moore is coming off horrible. He's just looking really bad. Nobody would want to hear this even if your team's losing, but when your team's winning games, just focus on the team. Focus on continuing helping the team to win any way that you can. I don't want to get too much on him, though, because, and I know some people won't want to hear this, he's 22. And I think sometimes we forget these are people. These are human beings. Everybody makes mistakes. At 22, we all did some pretty dumb things. It wasn't really broadcast across the media. We did not have thousands and thousands of fans watching our every move. So my hope is that cooler heads can eventually prevail in this situation. I understand the frustration, though, because it felt like things were finally going right for this team. And now Elijah Moore is in there, and he's trying to get out of town. And listen, this is a challenge for the Jets right now because the Jets need Elijah Moore. This receiving group, if Elijah Moore's not in there, it starts to look kind of shaky. It starts to get very thin. And it's real. I think if you're looking at this objectively, I think you'd have to say that this situation is almost and probably entirely Elijah Moore's fault because, again, there's no room for any of this when you're a team trying to win games, when you're a team beginning to build, when you're a team trying to establish a culture of winning. You can't have this. But even if the Jets did not create this problem, they need to figure out a way to fix it because this is a team that needs Elijah Moore's presence in the lineup. He adds something to the mix. Now, the last couple of weeks, he hasn't contributed much, but the Jets really haven't gotten much out of their passing game, and that's been kind of by design. It's not necessarily the end of the world that the Jets have struggled to throw the ball because they've kind of established themselves as a running team behind Breece Hall, and hey, they're winning games. So you can't really complain about that. Elijah Moore, I think part of the frustration, and I've seen people try and pin this on Zach Wilson, which I don't buy for a second. And the reason I don't buy this for a second is I've watched Elijah Moore extensively in the Green Bay game because I was kind of interested why he did not get any targets. And I was trying to figure out, was he not doing the job? I was wondering, maybe was it Zach? I could not find a single passing play, and the Jets only threw the ball 18 times against Green Bay, but I could not find a single passing play where Moore was the featured player. And they were not manufacturing touches for him in space. Now, in fairness, some of those were going to Braxton Berrios, who's doing pretty well with those touches. But I could not find a single play where it was designed for Elijah Moore to be the number one option. So I think that probably plays into the frustration. And, the Jets are still kind of figuring this thing out. They're still kind of feeling their way through the offense. Zach's only been in the lineup a couple of weeks. They still have all these new parts. It was going to take some time to get things going. I felt like if Elijah Moore kept playing at the level he was playing, the numbers would eventually come. And maybe this is not the kind of guy we were dreaming of last year when he had that midseason hot streak where, there was all this hope that maybe he could eventually be the go-to guy on this offense. And I maintain that hope heading into the offseason. The more I watch him, the more I feel like he's a complimentary part. But I think he's a quality complimentary part. And I'm hoping that the Jets and Elijah Moore are able to fix this. And again, it doesn't sound like the Jets are really focused on trading him right now. I mean, all the reports have said that they're not taking this seriously. And we've seen this with another receiver. Denzel Mims recently asked for a trade. It was right before the start of the season. And the Jets did not honor that request because they felt that they were not going to get equal value for him. They did not like the value. I don't think you're going to get good value for Elijah Moore right now. So I am happy to see that the Jets are not looking to deal him. Now, ahead here on this special mini episode of the Locked On Jets podcast, we'll delve deeper into the situation. We'll talk about what the future could hold for Elijah Moore. And we'll also talk about what the Jets were going to do Sunday because they may not have him against Denver. That's as we continue this special Thursday evening podcast. Well, hopefully the Jets and Elijah Moore are able to work this out soon. Hopefully he'll be back scoring touchdowns for the Jets, getting into the end zone. And I want to give you a sports analogy right now. When it comes to burglars, your home is like the end zone, and you need the absolute strongest defense you can muster. And that's why you should trust SimpliSafe Home Security. At SimpliSafe, your safety is the only thing that matters. It's cutting-edge technology powered by 24/7 professional monitoring agents who always have your back, so you always know your home is safe. With 24/7 professional monitoring, SimpliSafe's agents call you the moment a threat is detected and dispatch police or first responders in an emergency, even if you're not home or can't be reached. Their monitoring experts use proprietary advanced response technology to visually confirm when a break-in is real, so you can get the highest priority police dispatch. Customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplisafe.com/lockedonnfl. Save 20% on your SimpliSafe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan and get your first month for free. Visit simplisafe.com, that's simplisafe.com/lockedonnfl to learn more. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. Despite all of this Elijah Moore drama, the Jets seem like they're on the right path this season. Who knows, maybe in a couple of years, they could be playing for a championship ring. Well, there are other points where you may need a ring in your life, whether you're looking to pop the question, have a milestone to celebrate, or you want to let your love sparkle. Blue Nile can help you make your celebrations even more memorable. As the original online jeweler, Blue Nile offers the largest selection of independently graded diamonds and pieces priced significantly below traditional retailers. If you're looking for a piece of jewelry to commemorate a special milestone, but you're still having trouble choosing, Blue Nile has jewelry experts on hand 24/7. They're available via phone or chat to help you find a memorable gift at every budget. You can shop stress-free with Blue Nile's 100% satisfaction guarantee. Blue Nile orders are insured and shipped for free in discreet packaging, and they also offer overnight shipping if you're in a rush. So make your moment sparkle with Blue Nile. Go to BlueNile.com and use code LOCKEDON to save $50 on your purchase of $500 or more. That's BlueNile.com/LockedOn to save $50 on your purchase of $500 or more. BlueNile.com, code LOCKEDON. This is a special Thursday night episode of the Locked On Jets podcast. Wide receiver Elijah Moore has demanded a trade. Of course, the Jets don't need to honor that request. Elijah Moore is under contract for 2 more years. And that's one of the reasons I am holding out hope. And listen, it could go catastrophically. It could just be the end of the situation. It could be Elijah Moore could be out of here in a couple of weeks. I'm not saying that I'm going to guarantee everything's going okay. But there's plenty of reason to think that these two sides can reconcile. And you hope Elijah Moore gets good advice from the people around him. You hope that he comes to realize that he needs the Jets. The Jets need him, and he needs the Jets. I think back a couple of years ago when, Jamal Adams first started talking, trying to force his way out of town. And there were people who said, just get rid of him now. Get rid of him for anything you can get. And there were people I remember people saying, well, get rid of Jamal for a 2nd-round pick. Just get him out of here. Well, that really was not a good approach because the Jets waited. The Jets stayed calm. They did not make a panic trade for 30 cents on the dollar for Jamal. Now, maybe it would have been better if Jamal stayed and played at a high level. Of course, his play has fallen off since he went to Seattle. But even if you're getting rid of a guy, you don't get rid of him immediately. You wait for the right deal to come for you. And you try and get good value for the player. And right now, I don't think the Jets could get very good value for Elijah Moore because who's really going to want to trade for a second, or how much? What team's going to want to give a lot for a second-year receiver with 750 yards who's demanding his way out of town because he's not getting the ball enough in team wins? I don't know that there's going to be a huge line of teams looking to give up premium assets. I mean, listen, you could get something. I'm sure there's some team desperate enough at the receiver position that they'll give you something because Elijah Moore's got talent. But the irony in all this is the way Elijah Moore is acting probably makes it less likely that he's going to get traded because the Jets are not going to get good value for a guy who's acting the way that he's acting. And the Jets really don't have any pressure on them to make a move because Elijah Moore is under contract for 2 more years. So the Jets can kind of sit there and say, well, hey, if you want to be on the team, you can come play for us. You can run the plays that we call. And if you don't, you can sit at home. And instead of collecting money, you'll be fined every day because that's the way it works in the NFL. If you're not playing for your team and you're under contract, you can be fined. And you don't get paid because you're not playing. So the Jets have leverage here. Now, I think the Jets need Elijah Moore, though. I mean, I don't think they have great depth I think their depth is okay. But this thing gets very shaky when Elijah Moore is not in the lineup. So I think the Jets can afford to wait and play this thing out. I mean, I don't think they need him every single week. They can afford to miss him a week or two. Obviously, he hasn't done a whole lot in the past couple of weeks. I think as we get further into the season, the Jets need Elijah Moore, and Elijah Moore needs the Jets. So hopefully, and listen, I'm not suggesting the two sides are equally to blame here. Elijah Moore is clearly the guy to blame here, but hopefully cooler heads can prevail. In the meantime, it sounds like Elijah Moore's not going to play this weekend, and frankly, I don't see how this coaching staff could put him in the lineup after what's happened today. I think this is a weekend where everybody maybe needs to get away. It's an opportunity for Denzel Mims, kind of the forgotten guy. If Moore doesn't play, Mims will probably be active for the first time this year. Mims has been waiting his opportunity. He's another guy who's demanded, or I shouldn't say demanded, he's asked for a trade, and he's wanted an opportunity to play. Well, he may get it. And this could be a situation where we know Denzel Mims has physical ability. Is this the opportunity he's been waiting for? Well, could be a spot where maybe he earns a spot in the lineup. Maybe he goes out there and plays well. He's been waiting for 6 weeks. His opportunity may finally have come. Anyway, that's all for our special little mini episode of the Locked On Jets podcast. This show is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day is our motto. We have new episodes each day, Monday through Friday, through the season. If you enjoy the show, hit the subscribe button wherever you're watching or listening. That way you'll never miss an episode, and you'll get notifications as new episodes are posted, such as mini episodes like this, which are done on the spur of the moment. If you're listening on a podcast source, please give the show a 5-star review. And if you're watching on YouTube, please give this episode a big thumbs up. Have a great Thursday night, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll have our regular Friday episode. We'll talk a lot more about Elijah Moore. We'll also talk about the game this weekend between the Jets and the Broncos. Take care, everybody.